Hey everybody, welcome to Hatha practice today. Today we're going to be spending a lot of time really close to the ground, really on our mat. Make sure that you definitely have blocks and a strap. In addition to that, for our class, I will not be playing any music in the background, and I'm doing that with intention. The intention is to come even deeper into yourself, where sometimes music, although it can really add and be really beautiful and wonderful sometimes, often it can also be a distraction from stuff that's going on with yourself. So the intention of not having music is to bring the attention even more internal and to notice and observe what is happening with you. And when we start to really go in those deeper places, often what comes up is not always like great, or you might notice some thoughts that are like yucky, like, I keep thinking these thoughts that aren't really very serving to me. So instead of judging that, I want you just to be aware of it. So that's our intention without any music. And if for whatever reason, if you're like, nope, I have to have music, can go ahead and definitely find some music to go along with this practice. Also, I'm going to be using the Power of Surrender. Let's see if I can get to focus in here. The Power of Surrender card deck as our specific intention. And I've drawn a card for our collective group. And the card is, let's see if we can get it, surrendering to complete healing. Surrendering to complete healing today. I'm just going to read that before we start on our mat. Open fully to the loving, compassionate forces of the universe that support your physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. So today we're surrendering to complete healing, whatever that means for you. Let's go ahead and make our way onto our backs. And we'll take our left hand on our heart and our right hand over our belly. Let's align with our intention first, since it's right at the forefront of our mind. And breathing in, I surrender to complete healing. Hold that for just a moment. Let it retain and sit in the body, and then exhale it out. Inhale, I surrender to complete healing. And exhale, let it go. Once more, connecting here with breath and intention. Surrendering to complete healing and letting it out. We'll use this intention as our focal point. If your mind drifts and wanders away, you might also offer yourself the question, what does complete healing look like for me? Is there something that is not healed within your life? That could be physical, it could be emotional, with relationships with different people, it could be your relationship with yourself. So kind of search your mind during this practice. What does complete healing look like for you? Or just offer that question out into the world and see if you get any answers. From this intention, we'll keep our focal point on the breath just a little longer. The slow, deep breath in through the nose. And a slow, deep breath out through the nose. Breath in. And breath out. Breath in, filling up. Exhale, letting go. Maintaining this breath, we connect and notice our physicality, what is happening with our body today in this moment. And along with our physicality, we always bring awareness to our emotional selves, anything that we're holding in our emotional bodies, our heart center. And then anything we're holding or carrying with us mentally in our thoughts. And we strive the best that we can to invite in ahimsa, which is non-harming. This attitude of non-harming begins with us and how we think, how we feel, how we observe our own selves. One more breath in and breath out. Go ahead, release the hands, now bringing them along the sides of the body. And you're going to make sure that the feet are about hips width apart, knees are lining up with the hips. We'll start to roll into a bridge, pressing your low back into the mat, rolling up the tailbone, the low back and the middle back, and then the upper back. At the top, we're tucking the shoulders and the shoulder blades underneath. With a bridge, you always want to keep your focal point towards the ceiling. So resist the urge to look to the right or to the left. Holding and breathing. You always have the option in bridge to put a block kind of right underneath your sacrum, or even have your hands wedged under your hips if you have that accessible to you. That makes it a little less strenuous, but also more opening. So there's less muscular engagement if you have the hands or the block. But you might notice kind of a bigger, deeper opening. Breath in. Exhale, untuck the shoulders, roll down with control. Take your time. And when your tailbone hits the mat, we'll do it again. Press the low back into the floor, rolling up vertebrae by vertebrae. Holding here, tucking the shoulders. Option if you want to kind of interlace the hands underneath the back, keep softness in the elbows, and then actively press into the triceps, lifting and opening the chest, engaging into the feet, lifting up even more. Breath in, breath out. Notice where the knees are in space. If they're really drifting far apart, try to rein them back in, aligning ankles, knees, and hips. Last breath in. Exhale, slowly release. Untuck the shoulders again, coming down with control, articulating the spine. One more bridge, rolling back up. Tuck the shoulders. Option if you want to interlace the hands under the back and really lift and open. Feel free to use your hands or blocks. Breath in, breath out, filling up, expanding into the rib cage, drawing the knees in towards the midline of the body. And that's more energetically. They don't have to move a whole lot, but it's like we had a ball or block in between the thighs and we were going to gently squeeze that block or ball. Last breath in. Exhale, slowly release, untuck, and come down with control. Hug the knees towards the chest. Maybe shift a little bit side to side, whatever would feel good in your body today. Hands on shins or hamstrings. Let's rock and roll. Massage out the length of the spine, tucking the chin. Take as many rocks and rolls as feels needed, and then come into a seated position. Seated position, ankles crossed to start, and then we're going to open up. Let's take the left leg out at an angle, squeezing your thigh, flexing the foot. Now the chest and upper body is going to rotate to the left so that you are squared. Inhale, sit up tall. Exhale, melt forward. Melting forward, hands can come to the floor. You might reach for the foot. Touching the foot is not important. What we're focusing on here is maybe noticing something in the back of the leg and also the opposite hip. You might feel that maybe even in the QL area. That's your quadratus lumborum. In this position, I like to take my right hand and reach for the left side of my foot. That stretches a little bit more for me. I want you to notice what you like and what has the most benefit for you. Keeping in mind our intention today of this complete healing, surrendering to complete healing. Breath in through the nose and out through the nose. In our practice, you're always welcome to align with Ujjayi breath, or sometimes it's called victorious breath. This is with the mouth closed, and you take the tip of the tongue and bring it just to the roof behind the top teeth. And then there's a constriction in the back of the throat, where now the breath becomes very oceanic in quality, very audible. This is a breath that builds heat. It's also a breath that brings focus and control. Breath in. And exhale, slowly release. Come back. Let's switch sides. Drawing the left foot in, extending the right leg out at an angle. And if you have a knee that's kind of hanging out really tall, you can always put some pillows under here to give yourself a little bit of support. It's a nice variation. Rotate, angle the chest with the thigh. Inhale, lift up. Think about rib cage coming off of your hips. Exhale, melting forward, finding something that works for you. Maybe taking the left hand and reaching across. And then you notice, you observe this right side and the left. Practicing ahimsa, non-judgment, non-harming, non-violence. Breath in. Exhale, release. Walk the hands back towards the body. Bring the soles of the feet to touch. Now, with all of these moves that we're doing, you could always have a meditation cushion underneath you or a pillow to give your hips a little bit of height over your knees. Feet, soles touching. Feet can be further away. They can be closer in. Play around with it. And then inhale to lift. Exhale to go forward, and you're going to melt and round. Let your forehead gravitate towards the big toes as close as they want to go. Breath in. And exhale to return. Let's make our way into down dog. So you can cross the ankles and roll forward or sweep the feet off to the side. Downward facing dog. Finding your stillness or movement. Let's really align ourselves with our down dog. To find really good alignment with down dog, I would actually prefer, or even for myself, start with your knees bent. Start with your knees bent and notice the hands first. We're pressing the floor away into the tops of the palms. You can even also think about pressing into the thumb and the first finger. And then the shoulders externally rotate. So take your shoulders, turn them away from your body. Ears, for the most part, align with the biceps, chest and belly. Gravitate towards the thighs. We're creating that triangle shape. Knitting the ribs a little closer. So there's abdominal engagement in down dog. There's really abdominal engagement in just about everything, but I think the abdominals get forgotten in downward facing dog. Lift your tailbone as if you're going to arch your back. Now really maintain the back and where it's at, and then start to straighten the legs. But if you lose the upper body, if you lose that flatness of your back, then keep the legs bent. So for me as an instructor, the last thing that is added is the straightness of legs. I prioritize the upper body first and then start to open, find that edge. You might notice your knees are a little bit soft. Maybe you can straighten the legs all the way. If you can, pull the kneecaps towards the hips. Let your heels drop towards the mat. Breath in and breath out. Inhale, right leg high, reach up. Hold and breathe. Actively square the chest. Turn the right shoulder down towards the floor. Big breath in. Exhale, right knee to right elbow. Maybe kind of resting the knee on the shelf of the tricep with the option always to bring the left knee to the floor. Press the midway, scoop the belly, keep the chin open. Inhale, right leg high, reach up. And exhale to low lunge, right foot all the way through. Low lunge, we're going to drop the knee down. I want you to grab your blocks. We're moving into half splits. So blocks on the sides. You're going to shift the weight back, straighten the front leg. Straighten the front leg. Now when you do this, you might notice a sagging, like you're going to sag off to the left side. Really align the left hip with the left knee as best you can. And then squeeze the right thigh, flex the foot, and lift the chest. And you can think about tailbone, like you're going to arch your low back. That's going to go deeper. Typically when you arch, you might feel a deeper opening in the back of your leg. So play around with that. And then once you settle in, drop the shoulders, slightly draw the chin towards the chest. So we're thinking about a line of energy, crown of head to tailbone. Keep shifting the weight in the lower body to the right. You might have a tendency to kind of slack to the left. We're pulling everything in alignment. Left hip, left knee. And physically, our focal point here is the hamstring. If yours are really tight, just soften the knee as much as is needed. If you have the availability to straighten the leg, squeeze thigh, flex foot. Breath in and breath out. Last inhale. On your exhale, you're going to bend the front knee, plant the foot. You can kind of set the blocks aside or bring them with. Both hands now are going to come to the instep, and you're going to let the hips sink down. Ideally, you want to keep the knee alignment with the ankle. If it's going past, just wiggle the foot a little bit further. You can keep the hands on the blocks. You can bring the hands all the way to the mat. And then with this, again, think about lifting the chest, lifting the tailbone, hug the inner thighs towards the midline of the body. We'll drift that knee out in just a minute. Hug everything in to start. So inner thigh engagement, hug, hug, hug. Actively press into the feet so it's strong and active. in. Breath out. And last inhale. On your exhale, option to stay here or option out to drift the right knee off to the side. Now, when you do that, try to keep the foot flexed just for the health of the knee joint. And if you have knee issues, I wouldn't do this at all. So if you have knee issues, keep the alignment, keep the knee and ankle together. If you feel like it's okay, you can drift the right knee off to the side. Option to twist if you want. Left hand stays down, right hand comes to the thigh. You actually kind of press into the thigh, rotate and look over the shoulder. Now, if that focal point doesn't work, feel free to keep it down at the mat. A little softness in the left elbow. Breath in, and breath out. One more inhale. Exhale, slowly come back. We'll make our way into plank. Right foot sweeps back, plank. Get strong in your plank first. Shoulder, elbow, wrist alignment, scooping the belly. I would rather you look like this than like this. This is really hard on your low back, so keep it up nice. Pull the navel in, squeeze your thighs. Big breath here. Exhale, down dog. Again, find your form in your down dog. Maybe start with the knees bent. Think about the upper body, lifting tailbone, and then straightening the legs. Pause for a moment. Notice, how does this side feel? My right leg compared to the left, now that we've kind of opened some things up just a little bit. Inhale, left leg high. Squaring the chest, scooping the belly. Again, your right knee here can be really soft, or it can be kind of strong and engaged. Breath in through the nose. Exhale, left knee, left elbow, maybe sitting on the shelf of the tricep, holding there. Variations, right knee on the mat. Press the floor away, pull the navel in. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale to low lunge. Low lunge, dropping the right knee down. Let's set up for this half splits. Go ahead, grab your blocks. Shift the weight back, straighten the left leg. Again, you might notice right hip kind of want to sag off. Bring it back in, align hips and knees. If you have tight hamstrings, you're softening, otherwise engaged and flexed. I like hands on blocks. You do you, maybe hands on floor. Inhale, lift the chest, lift tailbone. Keeping in mind what our focal point is. Physically, we're working with the hamstring. Once you've found where you need to be, maybe close the eyes. Scoop the belly. Knit the front ribs. Lift your tailbone. Breath in, and breath out. On your inhale, start to bend your left knee. And now you're going to bring both hands to the instep of the left foot. You can stay on blocks or not. Let the hips go forward, sink down. Hands to the instep. Adjust your foot as needed. Maybe widen it. Hold here first, energetically, hugging the inner thighs towards the midline of the body. So hug in, hug, hug, hug. Find that engagement. The chest stays open, shoulder blades together and down. And then just that little dip of the chin towards the chest. So we're lengthening the spine here as much as we can. Can always be on fingertips, be in blocks. Also making a fist, having the big knuckles on the mat is nice variation. Helps with the wrist. And then your option is to stay here or to drift the left knee off to the side and maybe twist. Right hand down on the mat, a little softness in the left or in the right elbow. Left hand comes to the thigh, press, rotate, twist, open, choose a focal point that works with your body. And even with this pose, we're not just going into our joints fully. There's engagement here. We're pressing the floor away. Inner thighs are still hugging towards one another. There's lots of action. Breath in and breath out. Last inhale. Exhale to return. Step back into plank. Find your form. Exhale, down dog. Noticing this down dog compared to our first down dog. Down dog, inhale, right leg high, reach up. Exhale, right knee, right elbow. Take your variations, get strong. Inhale, right leg high, reach. Exhale to low lunge. Drop the back knee. Move into that half splits again. Grab your blocks here. Exhale, shift back, half splits. Find your form, alignment, engagement. This time we'll lift the chest first, then melt down. Now when you melt down, you might have to soften the knee. That's okay. Keep some energy here. We're pressing the floor away. Inner thighs hug towards the midline. And then there's a softening of the upper body, crown of the head, dropping down. Breath in. And breath out. On your next in-breath, we'll shift into dragon. So plant the right foot, let the hips sink towards the floor, but we engage, press into both feet, top of the left foot, bottom of the right, hug the inner thighs, then take the hands up if you want. Options, hands can be on hips, hands can stay on blocks. Breath in through the nose. Exhale, right hand is going to come down. I would suggest a block just for more balance. And then the left hand sweeps across the body, sweeps across. So we're really stretching in to that whole left side, all the way down to the hip and hip flexor. Keep the engagement in the feet. Press, 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 squeeze inner thighs. Stretch, reach with the left hand. Breath in through the nose. And exhale, slowly release. Both hands now come to the instep of left foot. Feel free to bring your blocks with here. Keep letting the hips come down a little bit further, but still feel the engagement. And feel the engagement. Option to stay. Option to drift the right knee. Option to twist. If you're feeling ambitious today, maybe bend the left knee, draw the heel in. Right arm sweeps up and over, grabbing for the foot. And if you cannot make the connection, no worries. You can grab a strap or just send the hand, the foot in the general direction of one another. Without looking, just notice the left elbow. I always want to keep a little softness in that joint so there's no hyperextending. Breath in, breath out. I hope you're enjoying this. It's feeling really delicious in my body. Hope it is in yours too. Breath in through the nose. Exhale, slowly release. Come back. Plank. Right foot sweeps back to left. Find your form first. Know that you can always be on the knees or forearms. Take a breath. And on your exhale, down dog. Downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg high. Exhaling, knee to forehead. You're resting the knee on the shelf of the tricep. Hold. Notice what's working. Notice the sensations you're feeling in the body. Inhale, left leg high, reach up. Exhaling to low lunge. Dropping the right knee down. Grab your blocks again if you're using them. Half splits. Straighten the left leg. Squeeze the thigh. Flex the foot. Find all your alignment. Right hip, right knee. Lift the chest first. Breath in. Exhale, melting. Melting half splits. On your inhale, transitioning into dragon. You're bending the front knee, plant the foot, let the hips sink down. Find the engagement first. Inner thigh hug, press the floor away. Hands can be on blocks or release up, you choose. Breath in. Exhale, this time the left hand comes down to a block and the right hand sweeps across the body. So we're finding all this opening here. Hopefully all the way down into the hip flexor. Now, anytime our arms are overhead in our yoga practice, we are reaching. We're finding so much energy in the arms, but then we're softening the shoulders. And that's because most of the time in our day-to-day life, we are doing a little bit of a shoulder shrug all the time. Like there's tension that we're holding. The shoulders are just naturally drifting up. So we consciously bring them down. Keep pressing in the feet, keep engaging inner thighs. So we're finding the edge, but we're not sinking completely into the joints. There is a lot of engagement here. Inhale, return, come back. Exhale, both hands now come to the instep on the mat or the block. Keep allowing the hips to sink down towards the floor. Option to stay here. Option to drift the left knee off to the side. Option to twist, planting the right hand down, pressing. Make sure you're always pressing into thigh or some muscle or some meat, and you're not pressing into joints. We always want to avoid pressing into joints. Breath in, and breath out. Last inhale. Exhale, slowly return. Come back, step into plank. Plank to down dog. And then from our down dog, we're actually going to jump into Malasana, which is squat pose. I'm going to show you what it looks like first, in case you don't know where we're going. Inhale, gently bend the knees, lift the head. Exhale or even step. You don't have to jump. Step or jump. Bring the feet wide. I'm going to turn so you can see what I'm doing. Bring the feet, heels in, toes out, and then sink the hips down for Malasana, squat pose. Option in your Malasana is to grab a block and put it underneath you. Give yourself a little bit of support. Can be a really nice variation. Now within this, if you're not using a block, or even if you are, I encourage you to not just totally sink into your joints, but find that a muscular engagement. So press away. So you can see if I engage, oh, my butt comes up a little bit higher. I'm going to take my elbows and press into the thighs, not the knees. Hands at the heart. Press, 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 lift, lift, lift. So here's the sink. That's me not engaging anything. And this is where I'm at if I'm engaging. So try to find that because it's harder. It's harder. That's why we do it. That's why you're here. That's why you're practicing yoga. Because you like it hard and you want to be strong. Breath in and breath out. And that's really a gift I'm offering to you because I want all bodies to be as strong as they can be. So I offer you these yoga teachings as a way to build strength, not only in your physical body, but within your mind and your emotions as well. Becoming strong in those areas. Breath in through the nose. Now on your exhale, let yourself sink down. Let go of that engagement. Ooh, that feels good. We're going to twist, right hand down, left hand high. Twisting Malasana. Breath in. And exhale, slowly come back. Now left hand comes down, right hand goes up. Breath in. And exhale, return in your Malasana. Option to try something called garland pose. So you can either hold the hands at the heart. Garland pose is taking the arms, wrapping them around like they were going to touch behind you. My hands are not even close to touching each other. And that's okay. That's not the intention. The effort is what's important. So taking the hands, wrapping around. The breath in. And breath out. And slowly release. We're going to add just a little bit of movement into this. Something, it's been a hot minute since I've done, is called frogs. And with frogs, you have some variation. You can have your feet kind of just like this, and if that's good, that's how you're going to move. If you're wanting more challenge with these frogs, you have the option to bring the feet close so that the heels touch, and that you actually lift the heels off the mat. I'm going to show this version first. So inhale to lift, exhale, drop the head, and then take the hips high, keeping the heels off the mat. And then inhale, return, come back. So that is a variation with the heels up, or you can just sink everything down, breath in, lift, exhale, drop. So either one you choose, play around, decide how much challenge you want today, and then you're going to move with your own breath and body. I'm going to try a couple with my heels lifted. It has been a while since I've done these. Inhale, lift. Exhale, drop. Here's a great spot for that victorious breath, Ujjayi breath. Keep moving with your breath and body. Now you might be really feeling these since we really kind of opened and worked our lower body already. Let's try 8 to 10 more. Last 4 or 5. Last 1 or 2. And then we'll rest in Malasana. And when we rest, we'll allow ourselves to sink down, press into the inner thighs, hands at the heart, and open the chest. Ooh, I'm feeling my calves. From our Malasana, we're going to transition right into crow because we're already just set up right there. I'm going to turn first. You stay where you're at. In our crow, we're going to plant the hands down. Hands are shoulder width apart, fingers spread nice and wide. In our crow, you're taking your knee and you're going to rest it on the back of your tricep. It's been my experience that the best focal point is straight out, like you're going to make a triangle. So when I'm in crow, I'm going to have my focal point kind of be where the block is, I would say. So coming up onto the hands, squatting down, bringing the knees to the triceps. And then you always have the option, I have the option to kind of maybe do one little baby foot lift and then put that down. Another baby foot lift and put that down. Maybe you try both, or maybe you don't. Go ahead and play around with your crow. In your crow, think away, like pushing the floor away, scooping the belly up and in, so you're lifting out of the abdominals. So push and lift. Find a lightness in the upper body in your crow pose. Just take maybe another 30 seconds in your crow. And come in and out. Feel free to use pillows around you so that if you spill over, you're just going to fall into some pillows. Once you had enough crow, come back to Malasana, come back to our squat, right hand down, left hand high, last twist here. And return, left hand down, right hand high. Breath in. Exhale to release. Coming down. I can't decide if we should do this pose or we should just kind of go back to where we started. Let's go back to where we started. So roll onto the hands and knees. Extend the left leg out. Hug the right knee or the right sole of the foot in. Rotate the chest. Inhale, lift. Exhale, melt forward. Option to take the right hand and cross over, only if it feels good. Always can use your strap here as well. Soften the left knee as needed. If you have the space and you want to get really into the engagement, squeeze your thigh. Press the back of the knee into the mat. Flex the foot. And then we notice, how does this feel? Coming back to this pose. Breath in. Exhale, return. And then we'll switch sides. Extending right leg, sole of the left foot. Feel free to grab your meditation cushion or your pillow here. Rotate the upper body. Inhale to lift, exhale to melt. Maybe cross, maybe use your strap. Breath in. Exhale, gently come back. All right, one more pose. Cow's face legs. So bend the knees, plant the feet on the floor, and we'll take the right foot underneath the left knee and bring it back towards the hip. And then the left foot crosses over and comes back towards the hip. So ideally, both feet are striving towards opposite hips. We're flexing the feet to maintain alignment between ankles and knees. And then my preference is that you strive to have both sits bones on the floor. That may or may not happen for you. Sometimes this foot hugs in, so then my sits bone is not on the floor. You play around with it. What is it like if you make sure that your sits bones are on the mat? I feel like, ooh, that's definitely deeper for me. If I hug my foot, so now I only have one sits bones on, this is more accessible and I can actually find what the aesthetic alignment is. So aesthetically, you can't see my knees because I'm wearing too much black here, but you align the knees. That's like the aesthetic version of the pose. But, just yoga is not about what things should look like. It's about what they feel like in your own body. So play around with both of those. Here you can see here my kneecaps. So if I make sure that my sits bones are making contact with the floor, now my knees are no longer stacked, but I am feeling a really good deep stretch and opening, and that's really the intention. If this is enough, stay right here. If you are wanting more, lift the chest, even lift the tailbone, and then maybe hinge forward. We're going to keep the back flat though. So keep your back flat, no rounding. Shoulder blades together and down, widen through the collarbones, chin slightly draws towards the chest. And I didn't cue it, but if you wanted to throw in the arms, you definitely could. We didn't do a lot of prep for the arms, but if you wanted to do the arms, you're very much welcome to find those as well. Breath in to the nose. Exhale, slowly release. Let's uncross the legs, plant the feet on the floor again, and now we'll switch. We'll take the left foot underneath and the right foot across. Again, we'll flex and then play around with, okay, what do I notice if my heel is tucked under myself so much that my hip sits bones down the floor? What happens if I create space and now my knees are not aligned anymore, but now my sits bones are grounded? What happens? Feet are flexed. Stay here if this is enough. If you're wanting more, breath in, lift. Exhale, hinge forward. Maybe add the arms. Opposite side this time. Breath in. And exhale, gently release, let that go, let's uncross, and we'll come back to bound ankle pose where we started. We started with this pose at the beginning as well. Soles of the feet into touch. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, melt forward. Thinking all the way down as far as you want to go. And really noticing what has been strengthened, what has been opened. And since we're practicing without music, notice how that was for you as well. If it felt like you could concentrate more, or maybe you noticed more mind wanderings, or you were maybe mentally bored. Just observe, just notice. If we want to really connect with the roots of yoga and this practice, then we would choose, for the most part, we would choose no music, because yoga is really about going inward. And letting go of the external distractions. Breath in. And let's go ahead, release. Let's make our way into Shavasana. Any Shavasana feels good for you. You can go legs up the wall. You could even hang out in child's pose if you wanted to. During this time, allow yourself to find complete surrender. If you're aligning still with our intention, we're surrendering to healing, complete healing. Your breath softens. Allow your breath to become so quiet, so soft, that even you cannot hear your own breath. If you are wanting a longer Shavasana, please stay here. If you are ready to move on, you can gently come onto either side. Both on and off the mat, it's important for us to create and allow space for transition. Breath in, exhale, finding a seated position. We're going to bring the hands together and bring the thumbs directly into the third eye, which is the center of the forehead. Go ahead, close the eyes here. Today we focused on surrendering to complete healing. Opening fully to the loving, compassionate forces of the universe that support our physical, our emotional, and spiritual healing. We allow for this complete healing in our minds. Now bring the thumbs to the mouth. We allow for this healing within our words. And then the thumbs come to the heart. And we allow for this healing in our emotional bodies. To end and seal this practice by bowing forward in gratitude. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns about anything that we did in practice today, or about not having music and how that went for you, I would love to hear all of that. Thank you so much.